Hello everybody, my name is James Ahi. I am a first year occupational therapy student at Midwestern University, and I am presenting my occupation-based kit for activity analysis. Now the occupation that I've chosen to focus on today for you all is that of making coffee. So the act of preparing and making coffee falls under IADLs, but it could also fall under social participation as well, because usually when people are making and preparing coffee, it's because they have company or they are making it to enjoy with friends or with a family member or something. So it could very well be a social act as well. So let's jump on in and look at some of the objects that we have in our kit. So first off, we have our French press system. This is how we're going to be making our coffee today. We have our coarse ground coffee, and then to scoop our coffee we have a little scoop here. Next we have our kettle that is filled with hot water, and then we have our glass stirring straw. That'll be very useful. We also are going to be utilizing a timer for this task because the coffee needs to sit for a specific amount of time. And last but not least, we have our cup of choice to pour our coffee into at the end. Alright, so let's get started. So we have our French press system here. We're going to position it in front of ourselves at a adequate distance. Next, we're going to take our container of coffee grounds, open it up, and we're going to scoop out, for the serving I'm making, we're going to scoop about 3 spoonfuls out. 1, 2, and 3. So now we're going to close this up and set that aside because we're not going to need it anymore. Next step is we are going to take our kettle with our water, and like I said, I'm going to make a half serving, so for me, I'm only going to fill it about halfway. If you were making it for more people, you would probably fill it more towards the top. So it's really based on how much coffee you want to make. So I'm going to take a kettle and pour our water in here. Be careful, this water is very hot. And that looks about good. Maybe a little splash more. So now that our coffee grounds and our water are in here, we are going to take our glass stirring straw and we're just going to stir it up a little bit. Make sure it's all nice and mixed together. That's great. And then we're going to set that aside. Next we're going to take our lid and just set that on top. And then we're going to set it aside and set our timer for 4 minutes. So for 4 minutes, and then we're going to just set these aside. So now that we are waiting for our coffee to finish up, let's talk about some of the therapeutic potentials and the populations that this occupation-based kit could reach. So throughout this activity, we used a lot of fine motor skills with scooping and dumping our grounds into the French press system. We also used wrist and hand motions to grip and manipulate the straw and stir it. And then we had to lift and pour our water into the French press system. And obviously we had to do that all successfully in order to make sure that our end result is good. So a population that this could be useful for is people who suffer carpal tunnel, who have problems with their wrists and fine motor movements in their hand. A way that we could grade this down for them is have all of our coffee grounds in a separate dish already scooped out and prepared for them, so they could just simply do one motion of dumping it into the French press system rather than using the scoop, which is a graded up version, using the scoop to manually scoop each into the French press system. So the next population that I was thinking this could be useful for is those who suffer from cognitive deficits, such as dementia, because this process of making coffee is very sequential. We need to follow very set rules and set steps to get a good end product. So a way that we could grade this down is provide a sheet of paper for them so they could read the steps out and they could, follow these steps in order and get to the product. A way that we could grade this up, however, is us as the therapist giving them verbal cues one time and then having the client recall this information while also attending to the tasks still. So it would require them to use these process skills to think back to the information that we had given them, but also ensuring that they're still performing the task. So this occupation has a lot of therapeutic potential as far as motor skills and processing skills. And it looks like our coffee is about done. So we're going to set our timer aside, and then we are going to, using both hands, grip the French press system, and then slowly but forcefully. So this we are going to calibrate our movement here, and we're going to force it down slowly, ensuring that we get all the coffee grinds down towards the bottom and pushing that liquid to the top. If we do this too fast, you'll find that your cup of coffee is filled with coffee grounds, and you don't really want that. So calibrating your movement on this step is essential. So the last step is grabbing your cup and carefully pouring your coffee into your cup. Great, so now we have ourselves a cup of coffee, and we've talked about the ways that we can grade up and grade this down based on the populations that this has been targeted towards. So let's talk about a way in which we could adapt this process as a whole. And that can easily be done because we have traditional drip coffee systems with just the use of 2 or 3 buttons. You can have yourself a pot of coffee, and that takes substantially less steps than making coffee in a French press system. So a way that we can adapt this is by taking this completely out of the picture and using a traditional drip system. So now that we've talked about grading it up and all the therapeutic potentials for our specific populations, and we've talked about how to adapt it. So I hope that you guys enjoyed my occupation-based kit. It was really fun putting this together and really analyzing one of my favorite activities. And I hope you all get some great information out of this. So thanks for watching, and cheers.